How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Pei Vav, Daf 86 of Masechta BavaMetzia. Friends, yo friends. Today's another great Daf, Agadata. It's the second to last day of Agadata. Tomorrow the Agadata comes to an abrupt end in the middle of the Daf at the very bottom of Pei Zayim and Amud Aleph, but until then we have another page of Agadata. Towards the end we're going to start on this kind of well-known Agadata with Avram Avinu and the Malachim when they came to visit at the beginning of Parshas Vayera. And we're going to kind of stop in the middle because if we want to do it all at once, we either have to get basically to the end of the Agadata tomorrow, or we have to stop kind of high up today. So we'll stop in the middle, which I think will be fine, and we'll just do the whole Daf Pei Vav. Without further ado, it's going to be a great Daf. Okay, we're going to start on Daf Pei Vav Amud Aleph, about 4 lines into the Amud. Amar Rav Kahana says, Rav Kahana, Ishtoi li Rav Chama barbarti dechasa. Rav Chama, the grandson, I guess, of Rav Chasa, said to me, says Rav Kahana, Rabba bar Nachmani agav shmoda noch nafshe. That Rabba, the great Rabba, he died on account of persecution from the king, from the government. They made a whole fuss about Rabbah by the king. There's a Jew who is responsible for 12,000 Yidden not paying the Mikarga de Malka, from not paying the head tax, because of course before Pesach in the spring and before Sukkot in the fall, they would go to learn the halachis of the Chag, and therefore they weren't home when the tax collector came to collect the head tax. So the king was very, very upset. 12,000 Jews weren't paying up, so they were very upset with Rabbah because he was, all these Jews were coming to him twice a year and not paying their taxes. Shadru Pristika de Malka Basre. So they sent an appointee of the king to a messenger of the king to arrest Rabbah, but the messenger couldn't find Rabbah. So Rabbah fled from Pumbedisa, where he was the Rosh Yeshiva, to Accra. I don't know, one of them. So he was mamish, he was a fugitive. He was going from one town to the next, hiding out until he finally came back to his old stomping grounds in Pumbedisa, and that is where he was ultimately captured and arrested. Ikla Pristika de Malko la Ushpiza, and the story of his arrest, or at least a part of the story of his arrest, is that the messenger of the king went to a certain Kretschmer de Rabbah, and Rabbah was staying at the same Kretschmer. Krivu Taka Kame. Now the messenger didn't know that Rabbah was in this Kretschmer, but he goes to I guess where the people eat in the Kretschmer, and they bring for him a table. Krivu Taka Kame. They bring for this shaliach, this messenger, a table. Vashku trei kase, and they gave him 2 cups to drink. Vidalyu litaka mikame, and then they took the table away from him. And other partzufe lachore, and at this point his face mamish turned around. It sounds to me like kind of like an owl. His face mamish turned around. He drank 2 cups because the Gemara in Pesachim says that you shouldn't do things in twos, right? So you shouldn't drink 2 cups of wine. So he drank 2 cups. And because of that, the 2-cup demon came and was playing games with the messenger, and he turned his head around. Amrulay, so they went and they found Rabbah, and they say to Rabbah, "My naivid legavid de malku, what should we do? He's a messenger of the king. We have to do something." Amrulu, so Rabbah says to them, "Look, it's pretty easy. What happened was you gave him 2 cups. Give him a 3rd cup, and then it'll be fine." Krivitaka lekame, bring back the table before him, ve'ashkiu chad kasa, and give him another cup so that it's an odd number, vidalyu, and and then remove the table. And it'll be just fine. And sure enough, this is what they did. They gave him a third cup, and he was fine. Now the shliach, the messenger at this point says, I know that the person who I'm after is in this kretschmer. So he went and he searched throughout the kretschmer, and he found Rabba. Omar, and he says to Rabba, look, I know that you're the one who saved my life, so I'm going to save your life. Ozlina mea, I'm going to leave here, and I will not, I won't tell anybody that I know where you are. Even if it means my life, if they're going to end up killing me, I still won't tell them where you are. However, but if they torture me, so I'm going to tell them where you are. If they're just going to kill me, a quick death, I'll do that. But I won't be able to stand torture, and I'll tell them where you are. One way or another, Asiru the Kame. Eventually, they ended up finding Rabba. Ailu the Adrona. They then took Rabba and they brought him into some kind of a chamber, some kind of interrogation room, whatever it was. V'tarke the Bava Banpe, and they locked the door. Ba'arachme Rabba David Parak Eshisa, and the wall collapsed. Arak ba'azal agma, and then he fled to a swamp, a river, a swamp. Habiyasav agirda didikula, and Rabba was then sitting on a stump of a date palm. Vikagaris, and he was learning. And now at that time there was a machlokes in Shamayim in the yeshiva Shalmaila. In Baheres kodemis l'seir lavan tamei, v'im seir lavan kodem Baheres tar. The halacha is by negoyim, by tsaras, that if the tsaras has a white hair, right, you have tsaras, you have some kind of this leprosy blemish thing, and on it there's a white hair, that's tsaras. Now, if the tsaras comes first and then a white hair grows on it, it's tummy. If there was already a white hair from before and then there's tsaras, then it's tahor. Right? So in Baheres kodemis l'seir lavan, if first you get the blotch and then you get the white hair, tummy. That's tummy. V'im seir lavan kodem Baheres, but if first there was a white hair and then afterwards came the blotch, tahor, it is tahor. Suffolk, what if we don't know which one came first? HaKadosh Baruch Hu omer tar v'chulu mesivta d'rikia amri tummy. The Eibishter says it should be tahor, but everybody disagreed with the Eibishter. Who's gonna be the tiebreaker? They said, well, let's ask Rabba bar Nachmani. Let's bring him over here. Let's bring him to the yeshiva Shamaila, and we'll ask him a shaila, and whatever he says will be the halacha. Because after all, right, it says, the Amar Rabba, I'm reading that again, the Amar Rabba bar Nachmani, because Rabba bar Nachmani said, Ani yochid b'negoyim, there's no, right, I am, in a league of my own when it comes to the halachas of negoyim, as well as Ani yochid b'oihalos, as well as by the halachas of oihalos. Shadru shlicha basrei, they sent, so they sent the Malach HaMoves to Rabba to bring him to the yeshiva Shalmaila. But the Malach HaMoves couldn't get close to Rabba bar Nachmani because he wouldn't stop learning for a second, and so the angel of death could not go and chap maram because he was busy learning. But eventually a wind blew ve'ovish bene kane, and it blew among the reeds. Savar gundo de paroshehu, and Rabba thought, it's a pack of riders from the king. Omar tenoch nafshi da ugaver, he said, I'd rather die rather than be given over to be arrested by the king. When he was dying, Omar, he said, tahar, pure. I guess in that was as sort of the tiebreaker on this halacha, right? The Eibishter said pure. Everybody else argued with the Eibishter and said tamei. Says Rabba, tahor. Yotos baskol va'amra, and a heavenly voice emanated and said, Ashrecha Rabba bar Nachmani, Fortunate are you, Rabbi Bar Nachmani, shegufcha tahor, that your body is pure, v'yotzasa nishmoscha b'tahor, and your soul has left you in purity. Nafal piska merikia b'pumpedisa, and a holy petek fell out of the sky from and landed in Pumbedisa, and it said, Rabba Barna Nachman Meuman. Wait, what? Nafal piska merikia b'pumpedisa. A note fell out of the sky in Pumbedisa. Rabbi Bar Nachmani is bakish b'yeshiva. Rabbi Bar Nachmani is bakish b'yeshiva Shalmaila. That Rabbi Bar Nachmani has been requested in the yeshiva Shalmaila. I.e., Rabbi Bar Nachmani was an iftar. Nafko Abaye v'Rava v'chulu Rabbanu liyasuke bey. So Abaye and Rava and all of the rabbis went to go find the Rabbah. But they didn't know where he was. They hadn't heard from him in a while. Maybe they knew. Maybe the last they heard of him, he was taken away by the king. Who knows? So they went to the swamp. And they saw that there were birds that were collecting in an area to keep it shaded from the sun. Amish Mamino Asam who? So they said, okay, it must be that's probably where Rabbah is. Saftu Tlasa Yome, they eulogized him for 3 days. Vitlasa Lelvasa, and 3 nights. Nofal Piska, and another note another petek fell from the heavens. Kol Apuresh Ye Benidui, that if anybody goes home now after 3 days, will be excommunicated. Saftu Shiva Yome, so they eulogized him for 7 days. Nofal Piska L'chul Leveschem L'Shalim, and then a note. Another petek fell from the heavens and says, okay, now after 7 days, everybody can go home in peace. On that day that Rabbah died, there was a certain Arab merchant who was riding his camel on one side of the Papa River, and this great gale, this great wind blew him across the river to the other side of the river. Amar my eye, he said, what the heck was that? Amar, they said to him, Noch nafshe de Rabba Bar Nachmani, Rabbah died. Amar Lefanov, so this merchant says before the Eibishter, Ribono shel olam, Master of the world, I don't really understand this. Kuli alma didachu, the entire world belongs to you. Rabba Bar Nachmani didach, and Rabba Bar Nachmani belongs to you. At the Rabba, you are to Rabba of Rabba didach, and Rabba is to you. Why are you destroying the world? Noch zaipa, and then the wind chilled out. Okay. Reb Shimon ben Chalata bal Boser Havuah. So we had talked about Reb Elazar Reb Shimon, we talked about Reb Shmuel Reb Yossi, and now add another Amora or even Tana to the list. Reb Shimon ben Chalafta bal Boser Havuah. Reb Shimon Chalafta was a bal Boser. He was zaftig. Yom Echad Hava Chamim Alei, and one day he was very hot. Hava Solik v'Yosef Ashina the tourist, so he went up to a mountain peak and sat over there to cool down. Omla Devarti says to his daughter, Biti Anifi Ola b'manifa, can you cool me down with a fan, with like a hand fan? Vani etin lich kikrin denerd, and I will give you bundles of nerd, of some kind of perfume, I guess. Adachi nosh v'zika, but then the wind blew, and I guess he didn't need his daughter to fan him. Omer Kama kikrin denerd the maridichi. Wow, there should be many bundles of fragrance deserving to the one who provided this wind. I guess the Eibishter. All right, fine. Hakol k'minhag Medina v'chulei. So the Mishnah had said that Hakol k'minhag Medina, right? That when it comes to benefits for workers, it's all based on whatever the prevailing custom in that town is. Hakol asuyimai. When we say everything is like the custom in the prevailing town, what's it including? Lasuye ba'asu denige michrach rifto mishta anpoko, that even in a place where the employer provides bread and I think even like a revius of wine or drink. He has to provide that to you. Amalu, that if he says to him, Kadimu va'aisi nu, get started on the work and I'll bring it to you while you're already working. Amulo, lo, kol kiminoch. He says, no, that is, you can't do that. We are entitled to bread and drink. Provide that, and then we work. So there was a Maaseh with Rabbi Yochanan ben Masya that he said to his son, go and hire us workers, and he hired them all this food and stuff. And he says, wait, make sure to tell them not to do it. Right? Make sure to tell them before they start that actually what you're getting is just bread and beans. So Maaseh Listor, so I don't understand. This Maaseh seems to be contradicting what we had just said. We had just said, Akol Kaminag Medino, that everything is based on the prevailing custom of the location. And now we're talking about how there's all these sort of how Rav Yochanan ben Masya had to do a lot more, was concerned that he was on the line for a lot more than the prevailing custom. But I thought we just said it's all about the prevailing custom. So Maaseh, listen, why are we bringing a Maaseh with Rav Yochanan ben Masya that seems to be contradicting what we just said, that it's all based on the Minig HaMokim? You have to add a few words to the Mishnah. But yes, by default it's based on the prevailing custom. But if he said, I'm going to give you more than the prevailing custom, such as in this case, Riba Loin, well then he provided more and he has to deliver on it. There was Taka Maaseh with Rabbi Yochanan ben Masya, Shaman Livno, that he says to his son, say, Socher lanu peyalim, go and hire for us workers. Halachu fasak loin mizonis, and his son went and he said, we're going to give you food. And when he comes back to his father, Amarlo, Rabbi Yochanan ben Masya says to his son, Bini, my son, afilu ata oise loin ksuda shloime b'shaitoi, even if you make for them mamish a suda like Shloime Melech in his heyday, lo yotzos yidei chayvascha, it still will not be enough for them. It will still not fulfill your obligation to them. Shein b'nei Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yakov, because after all, they are the children of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and therefore they deserve even more than that. Lememid the Sudasa, the Avram Avinu Adifa Midish Shloimo. Is that to say that the Suda of Avram Avinu is greater than the Suda Shloimo b'Shaitoi? But the Apostle says by Shloimo, Vayihi lechem Shloimo liyom echad, shloshim kor soz v'shishim kor kemach, that just the bread for King Solomon for one day was 30 kor of fine flour and 60 kor of coarse flour. Asara bakar briim, and 10 fatty cows. V'asara bakar re'i, and 10 pasture cows. Umei atzon, and 100 sheep. Levad mi ayil, right? Aside from the ram, utzvi, and deer, v'yachmer, and yachmer, uvarburim avusim, and these avusim hens, which we're going to describe soon. V'magurim ben Astyun mishmei derab halalu la'milan shel tabachim, that all that flour, the 30 cores of fine flour and the 60 cores of coarse flour, that was just for the dough, right? That was just for the dough of the cooks. All that meat, that was just for one dish called tzikei kedera. From Rabbi Yitzchak, it says Rabbi Yitzchak, elef noshim ayu l'shloimo. Remember, King Solomon had 1,000 wives. Kol achas v'achas also solo b'beis akach, and this was times 1,000. Each one of his 1,000 wives would do this. My time out comes because they didn't know who he was going to dine with that day. So all 1,000 of them would make such a suda. Now compare that to what it says by Avram Avinu. Avram ran to his cattle. And he took a good geshmaka cow. Okay, so he makes a drosha that Ben Bakar is 1, Rach is 2, Vatov is 3. So he took out Be'etzim Sachakol 3 cows. That pales in comparison to what we just described by Shlomo HaMelech. So how can it be that the Suda of Avraham Avinu is greater than that of Shlomo HaMelech? The answer is, awesome Tlasa Torah the Tlasa Gavre, Achal L'chol Yisrael, V'Yehuda. The thing is yes, Avram Sachakol was 3 cows, but 3 cows for 3 people. Now, Shlomo HaMelech prepared mamish this banquet, but it was for all of the Yidden. Shenemar, as the Pasuk says, Yehuda v'Yisrael, Rabim kechol asher al hayom. And there are so many Yidden like the sand on the shores of the sea. So therefore, when you divide that up by the sand of the sea, per person, Avram Avinu's Suda was more substantial. My baburim avusim, what are these avusim hens? Amar Rav she'ovusim osan bal korchen. Rav says that they are force fed. Ushmuel Amar she'avusim v'omdim me'eleim, and Shmuel says that they just get all really fat on their own. Rabbi Yochanan says Rabbi Yochanan Mavin Torah mimar iso b'delo honest, that the best ox is an ox from the pastures that has not had to work at all. V'tarnagolos me'ashpaso, and a hen from, I guess, where it hangs out. B'delo anisa, that also didn't have to deal with like raising any chicks or anything. Those are the best ones. Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan muvcha shebebeim shor, an ox is the best animal to eat. Muvcha shebeofis tarnagoles, and the best bird to eat is a hen. Amar Meimer says, a Meimer zagso uchmiso bebatniso, what was it? Some kind of black hen with like a big stomach. The mishtakcha bene atzre, that is among the wine press or something. Dilo motzi pasir kana, that is so fat that it can't even cross over a reed. That's the best chicken. Velabakar ratza Avram, and Abraham ran towards the cattle. Ben Bakar echad rach shnayim v'tov shlosha. So he took 3 animals, 3 cows. Ve'em achad. Why don't we just say 1 cow? Kedamri inshe rochich v'tav. He took a Ben Bakar rochich v'tav. He took 1 cow that was soft and good. Imkein lichtov rach tov. Well, let it just say rach tov. My rach vatov. What's the vav? Shmamina l'drasha, to mean a separate one. Okay, so aim a tray. Fine, so say 2. Say, right, Ben Bakar Rach is 1. Vatov is the second one. Midatov l'drasha rach nam l'drasha. Well, once you're making a drasha from Tov, you can make a drasha by Rach, and say Ben Bakar is 1, Rach is 2, Vitov is 3. Mosiv Rabba bar Ula, V'temer Voshaya, V'temer Abnosim bar Voshaya, Vayiten elanar, Vaymar lasos also, and he gave it, singular, to the lad, and he quickly prepared it. Kol chad v'chad yoiv l'nar echad, that each individual animal he gave to one individual lad. Vayikach chema v'chalav, and he took butter and milk, uven abakar asher also, and the cow that he prepared. Vayitain, and he gave it lifneim, before them, dekama dematio asi lekamayu, that as each thing individually was ready, I think that's the drasha, as each thing individually was ready, he brought it before them. V'lamali tlosa taski b'chad. I don't understand, why did Avraham Avinu have to slaughter 3 cows? I mean, 1 cow should surely be enough for 3 people, especially if they're malachim and they're not really eating anyways, as we'll see in a minute. Amar Rav Chanan says, Rav Chanan by Rave kidei la'achilon shalosh l'shonos b'chaydol, because he didn't just want to serve cow, he wanted to serve tongue, and there's only 1 tongue per cow, and he wanted each fellow to get his own tongue, so he slaughtered 3 cows for their 3 tongues in mustard. Amar Tanchum bar Chaniloi la'olam al yishana adam iminig. A person should not change, should not veer from the minig amokim. That when Moses went up to the heavens, he didn't eat any bread over there, because the people don't eat bread over there. Malachi Ashar is yardu. Well, the angels don't eat bread over there. Malachi Ashar is yardu lamata, and the ministering angels came down below to planet Earth. V'achlu lechem, and they ate bread. V'achlu salkadaitek. What do you mean they ate bread? Angels don't eat. Elema niru kimi. They made it look like they were eating and drinking, and I guess eating these tongues that were prepared for them, but they didn't actually. Whatever Avraham Avinu did for the angels on his own, so then the Eibishter also did for the Yidden on his own. Also, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Eidei Shaliach. And anything that Avram Avinu did by way of a emissary, so the Eibishter did by way of an emissary. V'labaka Ratz Avram, and Abraham ran towards the cattle. V'ruach noso me'eis Hashem, and a wind came from God. V'yikachema v'cholav, and he took butter and milk. Hineni mamtir lochem min hashamayim, I am going to rain down upon you bread from the heavens. And he stood above them beneath the tree. I will stand before you there on the rock. And Abraham walked with them to send them away. And the Eibishter walks before them during the day. But when it says that it shall be taken a little bit of water, which he himself didn't do, but it was by way of it shall be taken, passive by a messenger. So that is, the Eibishter didn't directly provide the water, rather they hit the rock, and that's where the water came from. And the nation drank. This argues in Reb Chanina, in the merit of 3, the Yidden were zocher to 3. Because of the chema, the butter and the milk, zochu liman, the Yidden were zocher to man. And this is the contradiction. That when it says v'omer aleim zochu l'omer anon, that's why they're zocher to omer anon. But it said earlier that by v'omer aleim is hineni omer lefanecha alatzur, is that God stood before him at the rock. So that was a different thing. And for in the merit of water shall be taken for you, the Yidden were zocher to the Be'er Shel Miriam, which be'etzim came from that same rock that they hit. Fine. Take a little bit of water, right? Avram says to the angels, take a little bit of water and wash your feet. So the angels said to Avram Avinu, what? Do you think that we're Arabs? Who bow down to the dust of their feet? I mean, after all, look at yourself, right? Already, Yishmael came from you, and Yishmael is he's the primary source of this stuff. So why are you blaming us, or even suspecting us? Your son's the biggest doer of it, of bowing down to the dust of his feet. And with this we'll end today's daf, even though it's like in the middle of these sugas of Avram, but if we don't end here, we got to go all the way to the bottom of Pei Zayin and Aleph and whatever. We'll get to the bottom of today's daf and we'll end there. And the Eibishter appeared to Abraham in Elonei Mamre, and he was sitting at the entrance to his tent in the heat of the day. What does it mean, the heat of the day? That day was day 3 after Avram Avinu's bris milah, and the Eibishter came to visit Avram Avinu. And Avram Avinu was such a big machnis orchim that the Eibishter didn't want to bother Avram with achnosos orchim, so he made it a particularly scorching day, a particularly hot day, so people won't be out traveling, and he won't have to be bothered with achnosos orchim, and he can just rest. Shadrud Eliezer the Meifak Levara, but Avram didn't want to rest. He sent Eliezer to go outside and to check if there's anybody who they could be machnes areach. Nofak v'lo ashkach, and Eliezer went out, but alas, he did not find anybody. Omar lo mehemna loch, Avram says, I don't believe you. Hainu de Omar Tama, this is what they say in Eretz Yisrael. Leisem nusa ba'abde, there's no you don't believe an Evid. Nofak iu, Avram Avinu went out himself. Chazi LaKadosh Baruch Hu, he saw the Eibishter Dekai Above, who was standing by the door. That's why Avram Avinu says to the Eibishter, hey, don't go anywhere. Came in the Chazar the Ka'asa V'Shari, and the reason why the Eibishter was standing at the door is because he saw that Avram Avinu was fixing his bandages. And the Eibishter says, it's not good for me to be in here right now, and so he went outside. by the door. And this is what it says by the angels. It says that Avram Avinu looked up and there were 3 men standing upon him, i.e. they were right there, but then it says Vayar Vayoretz Likrosom, and it says that he chased after them. Meikara Asu Kamu Ole. So initially they came to Avram Avinu, but ki chazyu da'avalei tzayra, but when they saw that he was in pain, amru lavarich ayra lemekam acha, they said, okay, we shouldn't stay here. So that's why they left and he chased after them. Ma'nenu shlosh anoshim, who are these 3 men, quote unquote? Michal v'Gavriel v'Rifal. Michal shabal levaser es Sarah. Michal came to share the news with Sarah that she's going to have a yingul. Rifal shabal l'rapias Avram. Rifal who came to heal Avram. Gavriel also l'mahapche l'stom, and Gavriel went to destroy Sodom. V'ha ksiv vayavo shnei malachim stoma ba'erev. But it says that the 2 angels went to Sodom at night, not just Gavriel. Those Michal by day. Well, Michal went with him the Shezvei the Lot in order to save Lot. And you can also infer from the pasuk Vayafoch, and he singular destroyed the Esarim, the cities. Ha'el, these cities. Veloksiv Vayafchu. Shmami doesn't say that they. It says that they arrived together, but they did not destroy the cities. That was Gavriel alone. Chevra, that was that Peivav of Masechet BavaMetzia. We're still in the middle of the Avram Agadita, but we will wrap it up tomorrow. And tomorrow there was sort of little kind of a break of sorts with Agadita, a little break from the brain-breaking sugyas of BavaMetzia. And we're going to get, so tomorrow, halfway through the daf, we're going to get back to some kind of regular Gemaras, but it hasn't been particularly difficult though, I must say. So, alright, Chevre, that was daf Peivav, Masechet BavaMetzia. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.